let's go ahead and get an overview of this really interesting Stacks launch that you're talking about. What is it and how does that work?
Yeah, great. Thank you for joining us today. So at Neutrogena, we know that beauty is more than skin deep. And we are very proud of our heritage of showing up at CES and innovating at this intersection of not only skincare science, but science and digital technology. So we've been joining CES since 2018 when we first presented our Neutrogena Skin360 digital skin assessment. And since then, we've been innovating, we've been improving the experience, we've been enhancing our digital skin assessment based on what we learned from the consumer. What the consumer has been telling us over the last years is that they are looking for holistic health. It's been a big trend that started pre-COVID, but especially with the global pandemic, consumers have been placing much greater emphasis on their holistic health and well-being. And that has resulted in a tremendous interest in beauty supplements. 76% of people are expecting that a beauty brand also provides skincare supplements to complement our traditional skin and beauty routines. But as they navigate this space, it's a little bit complex, can be very overwhelming. So they're looking for expert guidance. And that's when Neutrogena comes in with the digital skin assessment, with our skin science experts who have 90 years of skin expertise that we're bringing to the table. And we're marrying that up with that elegant technology of 3D printing that Melissa, the founder and CEO of Nourished, is providing to create a personalized 3D printed supplement that's based on the diagnostic of Skin360 and serves your unique skin needs.
Hi, I'm curious, just really quick, how's the response been at the show?
Overwhelmingly positive. Overwhelmingly positive. And that just shows us that, if we're listening to the consumer and what the needs are, we're creating solutions that solve unmet needs.
Great. I would like to start with why 7 ingredients? Why are we layering 7? Is there something magic about that?
Yeah, actually, the 7 ingredients is a great question. So when we looked at over 1,000 different ingredients to try and validate them for skin benefits, we really found that there was 6 ingredients, which were really kind of the foundation for all adult healthy skin. And so that was what started us off. And then we decided, we also want to add an authentic level of personalization. And we found 2 additional ingredients for each of the major topics and goals that allowed us to get to this 7-layered potential. In addition, from the 3D printing and manufacturing technique side, and really from a user experience side, we wanted the product to be, a single daily stack, and it's a gummy. And we didn't want it to be so huge that it would be really, really unpalatable for the customer. But at the same time, Neutrogena and Nourished both really believe in efficacious payloads, so dosages which are going to be beneficial and which are validated by the science. And so by taking all of those things into account, we landed on 7, and the end stack is about 10.5 grams in total, which is, depending on how you like to eat your gummies, either 1 to 2 bites, but it's definitely one stack a day. And I think what we've landed on has gotten a great response so far from the customer. So we're really happy to see that.
That's awesome. And did I understand you can choose your own flavor as part of the personalization process?
That's absolutely right. So that's nothing to do with the science. It's more about adherence and really engagement of the customer. I think, it's unique that you can change your flavor every month and that you can choose your own unique flavor. And so we think if people are able to do that, A, it keeps it interesting, and B, it really increases adherence, which, at the end of the day, adherence is key to outcomes. And so if we can increase that while making it fun and enjoyable, I think that's a real winning combination.
So I want to think more now about the facial attributes measurement side of things. I mean, I know you have algorithms that work this whole process to figure out what it is that your skin needs. I kind of want to start with what attributes you actually you measure, and then how do you measure them? I know you can't give me specifics, but can you give me some generalizations about that?
Yes, absolutely. So in this experience, we're looking at 5 things. We're looking at clear skin, wrinkles, fine lines, radiance, and smoothness. And these are the elements that we think are best able to be captured through a selfie analysis. And what we're looking for is different on each of them, right? And we have a partner in Perfect Corp who has been helping us produce this product since early 2020. And they are the leaders in AI and machine learning diagnostics. But I think what's really important from our side is that what we brought to the partnership with Perfect Corp is bringing our derm graded images into their system to train this product specifically for the Neutrogena product. So we have dermatologists look at each of the images that we send them, classify them in terms of the wrinkles, the fine lines, the smoothness, the texture, the clear skin, especially. And clear skin has actually been something that we've developed even further over the last year because we know so many consumers are focused on having clearer skin. So our algorithm does now look at things like blackheads and so forth so that we can count them, we can identify the right regimen for them, or in this case, the right supplement.
Interesting. And that actually brings me nicely to my next question. And that is, how do you know what ingredients would go with a given desired outcome? I know, again, you can't give it all away, but, is this based on different clinical studies of these different supplements and how they affect the skin? Can you speak kind of generally to that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's a great question. So when we looked at the ingredients, that was one of the key considerations, is that we didn't want just ingredients that have overall health, but actually have clinical studies that have skin outcomes, right? Skin measurables to those specific ingredients. And so of the ingredients, the 14 ingredients that we've chosen, all of the products contain 6 ingredients: vitamin A, C, E, D3, selenium, and zinc, because we believe those are kind of foundational ingredients. They have great data that support skin, and we believe all users should be getting those. And then you personalize with the 5 different stacks with 2 other ingredients, and those ingredients then are targeted towards the specific needs that you go through as you take the skin stand. So things like astaxanthin, which is in our Hydrate gummy, very powerful antioxidant, has shown to help with reducing moisture loss in the skin through UV effects. So studies that help prove that. Same with like CoQ10 for the ageless study. It has shown, again, to help with skin elasticity, helping reverse the signs of natural aging. So we were very specific around choosing ingredients that have those, as well as eliminating ingredients that don't necessarily have well-proven or studied outcomes on the skin. And that helps kind of really marry Neutrogena topicals with ingestibles to make sure you're meeting your skin goals.
Yeah, great. So then I guess the next step, as you've kind of done the research, now you're developing these things. How do you test supplements, when it comes to, is it going to work for your customers? And also, how does the algorithm work for the standpoint of being accurate?
I can start with the algorithm. So from an algorithm perspective, when you go through the experience, and the experience is on SkinStacks.com, I welcome you to do it. You can do it on your desktop or on your mobile device. Mobile will be better cameras. But what the algorithm does is that we look at several things. So when you take your selfie, it's a front-facing selfie, a left and a right. The idea of that is like we want to make sure that we understand full skin health. And what the algorithm will do is when we compare your image to our data set, which is over 10,000 images of all consumers of all ages, like 7+, all skin tones, all skin types, then we're able to use those as reference points to compare your skin. And again, this is all for like positivity and helping consumers achieve their skin goals. But what this solution will then do, of your skin goals and how you perform, what is the area where perhaps you could use the most help? And that is where we would recommend to you as your primary skin goal in this experience. But knowing behavioral science, we also want to make sure that the consumer is committed to that goal. So while I might get the recommendation of greater hydration, because like I'm in the desert and like I'm super dry and things like that right now, I might think or care more about fine lines or wrinkles for my personal journey, and therefore I should select that because then I'm more likely to be committed to a routine. We go on further to ask questions about how many steps do they have in their regimen, have they used ingestibles for their skin before, and then also some external questions about like what is your climate, so that we can understand what is the right holistic regimen and also the education that we should provide to these consumers. And from all of those, from the skin analysis and from the answers, you will get a recommendation of what skin stack is right for you.
Yeah, and
Right.
just to build on that, right, the idea is we want people to be able to continually scan their face and make sure that they're able to see the improvement. And the app will help with that from a scaling perspective for them to see it. Now, with supplements and with a lot of things, consistency is paramount, right? And actually seeing results. So will you see it after taking one gummy? No, but the idea is if you're checking your face every 3 months, you should begin to hopefully see those improvements and then adapt either your topical or your ingestible routine in order to help make sure you're maximizing your goals.
Right. Were there then like some pilot studies you might have done with a smaller group before you were able to launch this, just to kind of test out your theory of which ingredients do give those effects? I know that it's sort of a self-researching tool then to have it on your phone yourself, but like, how did you pre-test it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I would say the pre-test from an ingredient perspective was really driven by the research that was done on the individual ingredients, right? So we look, again, at publications, peer-reviewed clinical studies, things that actually, clinical studies that also had the right endpoints, the right number of people, right? Making sure that they were large enough to warrant the claims that were being offered against them, was how we validated the use of those ingredients. If you want to take the other step towards how do we make sure the tool is right, Logan can talk about that around like how we validate that the results you're getting from the tool are accurate.
Great.
So from the tool, I would take two standpoints. So one, it's good data in, good data out, right? So like the importance of the clinical grading and working with our dermatologists to do that has been very important, and then continuing to go back and retrain and improve that algorithm over time. More data, the better. But also, which like might not seem as apparent just from the beginning of this story, but really important is the journey of Skin360. And that we did launch products like Mask ID. So Mask ID was a 3D printed mask, and that had virtually endless options of masks that we could offer consumers. But what we really learned in that experience was that consumers love this sophisticated science, but you have to make it simple, right? And you have to give them that expert guidance to bring them through the experience and what is the right product for them. Like, of course, it would be best if every consumer could go to the derm and have this conversation. But this is, that little consultation in your pocket to help you on the first step. And then, of course, later in your process, you can also see a derm. But through Skin360 and Mask ID, what we learned was of all the consumers who went through that, more than 50% of them bought one of 5 masks, or their end recommendation was one of 5 masks, and they selected that. They did not go the next step of creating further personalization, or I like this ingredient, or what about this here, which we thought they were going to do, right? We thought that was like the power and they'd be so excited. But what they told us through the experience was like, no, I want you to tell me what I want, what I need in each zone and how it works. And like, I trust that because that's more important than just, having fun and creating a unique mask.
Yeah, no, that's true. I can say as a consumer myself, I'm lazy. I do. It's sort of like I want to give minimal information and you tell me what I need.
And it's overwhelming too, right? Like the beauty industry is lovely, but there's so many options. There's so many, So I would love an expert to tell me which product's right for me.
Keep it simple.
To kind of build a little bit on the idea of the continual science too, one of the really great elements of the Nourished technology with the gummy is that the ingredients are in individual layers, right? So it allows for minimizing interaction between those. So it allows us to create combinations that in more general gummy production, you might not be able to create those same combinations. It also allows us that as science emerges on a new ingredient that maybe is better than or in addition to, we could always add that to a layer, remove a layer, and things like that. So there's a lot of agility built in to this collaboration, but obviously to this style of manufacture.
Yeah, very interesting. That leads me into my kind of final question then for you. And again, I don't know how specific you can get, but I'm thinking about those layers and what you're talking about. I'm wondering, is there sort of a basic substrate? What are they, printed on? How does that printing work? And then do you have to do something to protect, you've got the layers. Do you have to do something else to encapsulate or something, those ingredients so that they don't interact? I don't know how much of that you can get into, but I'd love to hear any of it.
Sure. And really, you hit the nail on the head because actually, the 3D printing technology, the hardware device, is only one part of the way that this technology works. And the material, the matrix, we call it, you're calling it a substrate, actually is absolutely vital, not only for the dosage control, the uniformity, the longevity, and the stability of the product and the nutrients inside, but also in ensuring that none of the individual ingredients in any individual layer interfere with the other ingredients. And if you can see the pictures, and certainly we're going to send you some so that you can see it for yourself, each of the layers is extremely unique and robustly encapsulated between each other. And we have been doing this in Nourished since 2020, and we continually, every single week and month, test our full stacks over time and on day one to ensure that there's not cross-layer contamination and that the efficacy of each of those ingredients is perfect on day one and then is maintainable throughout the shelf life of the product like you would any other type of manufacturing. And I think, what is the actual base of the mixture? It's pectin. And we have some really cool technology around hypersuspending hydrocolloid bonds in pectin. And what that basically allows for is for us to set a hydrocolloid bond and then unset it or like partially break it and then reset it again. And that can be manipulated by both a chemical impact, like citric acid, for example. So gelifications are impacted upon by acidity, or by temperature. And that allows for us to 3D print the product extremely quickly. So if you've ever seen gummy manufacturing in a traditional sense, you'll know that the gummies take quite a long time to dry. Depending on what is in the actual matrix itself, it can take anywhere between 1.5 to 5 days to dry. I've seen some foam productions take 5 days. Our product will be dry by the time it finishes printing, which is like 2.5 to 3 minutes. And each of the individual layers is dry by the time the next one comes down. And that is only possible because of that really cool hyper-suspended hydrocolloid bond technology, which also results in encapsulation. So without that material science, no matter how cool of a 3D printer I build, it wouldn't matter because the material wouldn't work. We'd be printing puddles of nothing. So that is absolutely a very valid question. And it's, and it's absolutely a key to the entire process and the manufacturing concept working.
Fascinating. Just one last thought that goes with it. How long is the shelf life for, your materials? I don't know. I didn't look at the products to see if they're like sealed for stability purposes, but what is a typical shelf life?
Yeah, because this concept is brand new. We've only tested this range because it was brand new in this combination for 1 year. So this will be on 1 year. And then as the product, if it continues, we will continually test over time and we can expand it. Most of our other products in the core Nourish range have 2 years, but we don't like to use the accelerators. We like to try and get real age product. And so, that will be expanded upon over time as the true age product ages.
Well, and hopefully people are consuming those supplements and not sitting on them. So I get that point.
Exactly. I think we have a bigger problem if people are not taking the product for 2 years than the shelf life.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think due to add to that, because we may not have mentioned it, but they're printed on demand, right? So as a person places the order, they get it within 7 to 14 days. So you don't lose a lot of expiration sitting on a shelf or getting to a shelf, which also allows for some flexibility in that expiration timing.
I appreciate all your time. I will let you go. I appreciate you calling me back from the show itself. I hope it's great, a lot of fun, and this has been really interesting. I appreciate it. Everyone take care and be safe.
Thank you so much.